What up, what up? It's your boy Joe Simmons, Bull City State of Mind, checking in. Gonna bring you up to date with the weekend sports. We said we're gonna do some things a little different. We're gonna try to do a few more more podcasts and blogs this time around. Try to get our information out there in a different way. For those people who don't have time to read, you can always check in and listen in on the YouTube channel, or come straight to the website and get it straight from the source. First thing we want to talk about is the NBA Summer League. The NBA Summer League is kicked off. We've had a couple of sites. They started off in Orlando, and they're finishing up in Las Vegas. And it's been a few teams that have kind of jumped off the charts at you, looking really, really good and looking like they've done some good things and put some people in the right places. Some of the standouts so far, a couple of guys that you probably wouldn't expect me to talk about, have jumped off the paper and looked a lot better than I thought they would. First guy being Cody Zeller of Indiana. The kid has incredible work ethic, and he looks like he's going to be a legit superstar. I know Michael Jordan got chastised when he talked about bringing this kid or drafting this kid, and when he did, it seemed like everybody was like, oh, here the Bobcats go with the bad pick, which, by the way, the Bobcats, of course, will be the Charlotte Hornets again. Come 2014, which is a good thing. I think it's time for a change and to put that history back together, but that's a topic for another day. Other people that stood out, Oladipo from Indiana as well. He looks like he may be better than advertised. I know a lot of people sold him as a defender, but the kid shows some clutch and has a lot of ice water in his veins. Some of the shots he was willing to take in big moments showed me that he's not going to be a guy that's going to be that's going to let his team down a lot. So Orlando did well in the draft, I thought, as well. A couple other teams, players that jumped off the page. Reggie Bullock from UNC. I mean, I knew the kid could play. I was telling someone, I saw the kid about 4 years ago in the NBA summer, in the summer league at the Pro-Am here in North Carolina, and he was like maybe a junior in high school, and he was the best player on the floor about every night he participated. Reggie has plenty of game. And you didn't really get to see that at UNC, and I don't know if it was a system thing or it was an injury thing, but he's showing signs of his old self for the Clippers in the Summer League. I mean, he's showing range. He's showing the ability to get to the basket. I mean, he showed you his defensive prowess at UNC, and nobody really questioned whether or not he could play defense. But he's showing you the complete package. And you can see, I know a lot of people, including myself, was questioning why would this kid come out early. And even in high school, I thought he was probably a little bit better ball player than some of the other players who were coming in that year, including Harrison Barnes. But Reggie has shown everybody that he can be a dynamic player on the next level if he can continue his consistency and continue to improve his range. Another guy, C.J. Leslie. I mean, C.J. Leslie went undrafted out of North Carolina State, and the Knicks took a chance on him, and he's been playing a little bit on the wing in the NBA, and that's something that nobody expected. C.J. played primarily in the post at NC State, mainly out of necessity, but he's showing the ability to play on the wing. What he does need to do is improve his jump shot. And CJ, if you listen to this, you need to get with your boy and holler at me, and I'll hook you up with some of the best shooters in the area. I think between James Zimmerman and LaVelle Moton and some of the other guys around here, we can get you ironed out really, really quick, and that's all you need to add to your game. I don't think you're ever going to be big enough to be a banger in the post, but you could be a solid wing player with a little bit of help. So CJ, if you get this, holler at me, man. You got to represent the brand. We need that to happen right away. Another big name that stood out and gotten a little bit better so far to me is P.J. Tucker. I'm watching him, and P.J. is a baller. I've played against him and with him in certain areas, but where his game is now, he's hungry. This kid is hungry. You watch him play NBA Summer League, I don't care what highlights you put on for Phoenix, he's going to work every game. He's giving people exactly what they want. And that's something you don't expect to see a lot from a guy who, especially as a veteran guy in NBA Summer League, they're just going to do just enough to hang on to their spot. Now, PJ looks hungry, and I think he's ready to be the leader of that team, along with Kendall Marshall, who I think has gotten a little bit better. His defense looks a lot better than I can remember. I don't remember Kendall Marshall ever being a lockdown defender, but now he's starting to stay in front of people, and his ball handling and his assist-to-turnover ratio has gotten a lot better. So maybe he'll spend a lot less time in the D-League and a lot more time on the NBA floor this year. So the NBA Summer League is kicked off. And Phoenix, of course, seems to have an advantage over everybody else. but they're playing a lot of their superstars or a lot of their regular players where everybody else is trying to experiment and give some guys a look and see what's going on. But the thing about Phoenix is they're so young, they have to do that if they want to make something happen or to try to get better as a team. They need to figure out exactly what they have and what direction they're going to take. So you can't really fault the Suns for that. Another team, of course, the Bobcats look really, really well, and they've got some kids that have surprised me, and they've got some kids who've been around for a while. No real draft picks to jump off the page at you. Of course, you know they took Cody Zeller with their first pick, and they picked up a few people along the way. And one of the kids they picked up that I really like is the Taylor kid that led the Big Ten in scoring. He's exciting. He shows some will and does some good things. But they across the board, I think they're going to get better. I think they're a few years away, and I know Michael Jordan is probably getting impatient, but they've made some strides. They've made some key signings that'll make them better. I know getting Al Jefferson is going to help them out a lot in the post, and that's something to look at. And that's enough really about basketball. Basketball is kind of in this infancy stage right now. They're not really doing a lot. This week, of course, was the British Open, and of course, coming into the British Open every year, Tiger Woods is always going to be your favorite in any major because he's the number one golfer in the world, and everybody knows what he's capable of. And you know, Tiger Woods is kind of the alpha male of golf. But it's been a while since Tiger won a major. This is 16 major starts now he's had since he won last in 2008 at Torrey Pines. So Tiger's one of those guys that'll be hit or miss or go up and down. But you got to suspect that eventually he's going to start to right the path and he'll win a few more here and there. I don't know if he'll ever catch Jack. And, I don't even know if that's even realistic. But if he does get hot, what these older guys are showing is that you can win it in your 40s. Phil Mickelson, of course, is in his 40s. Ernie Els won the British Open last year at 42, the year before that. It's Darren Clark won it at age 42. So these older guys are showing you that there are certain majors that can be won at an older age. And, Tiger, of course, being 37 years old, he still has a lot of his good years ahead of him. So, maybe he'll get it figured out. And if not, oh well, he's had a great career. He's been the most exciting golfer of our lifetime. But at the British, he was in contention. He had a chance to play himself into it. And a few bad holes derailed him at the end of the round on Saturday. Of course, that birdie putt that didn't go in on 16 was big. And then when Westwood bogeyed and had a little trouble on the par 3. And then on the par 5, 17th, when Tiger found that cross bunker and ended up bogeying the hole and then Westwood birdie, it looked like Westwood had a clear advantage in that it would be Tiger and Lee coming into the final group on Sunday. Well, of course, it didn't work out because Tiger ended up -1 and someone had already posted ahead of him. So, Tiger finds out he's in a group with Adam Scott. And I'm thinking to myself, this is perfect for this guy. He gets the chance to be in a group with his old caddy. He's in a group with a guy who just won a major, someone who's going to be contending, someone who's not going to be spraying the ball all over the place, who hits the ball well. So Tiger will be able to zone in and tighten up, and he'll have a focus within his group. And it appeared it was going to be that way on the first hole. He came out, he shook their hand. First tee ball right down the middle, which is rare for him in any circumstance in any major. And then the second shot is on the green, not really pinned high, but he left himself a long way away. And then he three putts. And, wait a minute, Tiger Woods doesn't three putt that often. So, okay, maybe this is just a drop in the fan. From that point on, the next 5 holes, he was nothing like Tiger Woods. He was missing fairways left. He was not getting the ball to cut. He was overswinging his clubs, like he was trying to get more distance than he should have been trying to get. He didn't really stick to the game plan, and I don't know if it was because the wind changed or whatever it was, but he wasn't himself. And then when he finally righted the ship, he'd already dug himself such a hole that he had to be overly aggressive on a course that wasn't going to reward aggressive play unless you got a little bit lucky, which brings me to Phil Mickelson. Phil Mickelson stuck with his strategy. He didn't have a driver in his bag. He played the little chop down two wood, which is really a one old school driver, which is all it is with the Loftwise, and he's basically eliminating spraying the ball all over the place. Well, Phil, of course, being one of those guys who plays the ball in the air, he actually benefited from that, I think, more this round, because what happens is everybody was trying to run the ball out on the course, and they were guessing how far the ball would roll. Well, Phil kind of knew that how far his ball would release if he hit it in the air, and he was getting away with it a lot more, and I think that's what kept him around. Also, his short game. Phil Mickelson's short game is really, really underrated as far as his putting now. I think he's a far better putter now than he was when he played on a regular. Phil is one of those guys who, he misses a lot of 3 or 4 foot putts, and what this course did is really took that out of play and he's one of the best putters from about 10 to 12 feet that you have on tour. He does it really, really well. I don't know what the numbers say, but I know what my eyes tell me is that he's one of the best putters in that situation. So Phil Mickelson, congratulations to him. He's got the third leg of the Grand Slam, and he's probably going to win a U.S. Open one of these days. Although the U.S. Open is one of those that you really, it's going to be hard to win. I say that about the U.S. and the British Open because it all depends on conditions and timing and tee times and those things. The Masters and the PGA are won pretty much based on whoever can place the ball at the right level and let it, and you know, whoever's putting the best that weekend. Whereas the U.S. Open and the British Open come down to whoever has the most staying power, which is one of the reasons why everybody always picks Tiger Woods in those areas, because Tiger Woods traditionally has been one of the toughest people in the sport, and he's been able to do that for a long while. And when I look at Tiger Woods more and more, he's starting to more and more remind me of Mike Tyson. You know, Mike Tyson has this aura about him that people, you know, always remember Mike Tyson, the bad guy, age 18, knocking people out. And when Mike Tyson gets older, people are still looking for that bad guy. And that bad guy may be in there, but he's not in there for a whole fight. He's in there for a few rounds here and there. And I think that's where Tiger Woods is now. I don't know that he'll ever be, you know, Mike Tyson again, where he's just knocking out the competition because of it with brute force or brute will. He's going to be that guy who, you know, around here and there, he's going to show you what he's made of, and he's going to show you the wonderful shots and show you the things he can do. And he might be able to sustain it for a couple of days or a couple of rounds and even maybe a couple of tournaments. But he's not going to be that guy night in and night out who's going to be who's going to be the baddest man on the planet. I'm not saying he's not the best golfer in the world, because in my estimation, I think he is. But I do know now that he's not as invincible as he once was, and he's very susceptible to being knocked out by a Buster Douglas or an Evander Holyfield at any given time, or in this case, a Phil Mickelson or an Ernie Els or, you know, an Adam Scott at any time. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is NFL training camps, and it's good to see the NFL training camps are back on stage. A lot of teams have opened up their camps already. Of course, my team, the Dallas Cowboys, are opening up camp and watching them do a few things here and there. And Jerry Jones, of course, always has lofty expectations. I know if you're anything like me, you're happy that football's even being talked about again, because all we've talked about over the past few months is basketball and hockey and baseball. And baseball, of course, really doesn't get exciting to me until late August, that's when teams start playing games that mean something, rosters start getting stacked. You stop seeing that number 5 pitcher in the lineup and they stick with their top 4. And, you know, they cut their bullpen down some, and they make trades to strengthen their bullpen and their closing, and, you know, the hitting gets a little bit better. And usually by then you get really, really locked into baseball. I'm not saying I don't follow year round, because last week the All-Star game was amazing. I was really, really excited about watching it. I was happy to see Mo get his piece, but, you know, there's nothing like NFL football. So now the NFL training camps are starting and are opening up. You know, there's a certain aura about the NFL, and I'm excited to see what people are going to do. I mean, the draft, that's the thing about the NFL, is that you don't get a chance to see, like, you know, a spring league or something, to see the young guys get incorporated to the team and get an excitement about what they can and cannot do like the NBA does. So, you know, you have to wait until the season starts. I know last year we were excited by a lot of intriguing things, and that brings me to some of the things of who we should watch this year. Well, everybody wants to know how Robert Griffin III is going to follow up that season he had last year, coming off the injury and progressing, and word came out today that he was going to participate in some of the preseason drills and some of the drills that are taking place on opening day, which shows us that he's a lot further ahead of schedule than a lot of people actually anticipated. And I'm happy for the young man, because I think he's got a lot to do with football. Oh, and then Robert, if you're listening, congratulations on your wedding. You know, that's big, man. You took that big step, and kudos to you. I think there's going to be a lot of teams to watch this year. Everybody keeps asking me who's my Super Bowl favorite when nobody's played it down yet. I'm not going to answer anything like that, because that'd be crazy. You don't know what teams can do, who's going to be healthy, and what's not going to happen. On paper right now, a couple of teams jump off the page at you, and one of those are the Denver Broncos. They've done a lot for their roster, and people won't realize how big the addition of Wes Welker is to the Broncos until they actually see what he's going to give to Peyton Manning. What Wes Welker does is he gives you a secondary option right away. Being in the slot, he's going to be working a lot against linebackers and safeties, and he's a return guy, so he's going to annihilate them in open space and open field, which is one of the reasons why he's always been a security blanket. But what he does is he makes Demaryius Thomas a lot better because he's such a threat at any time on the inside that safety is going to be peeking at whatever he does. And if he beats his man quick and that safety pauses for a second and Thomas beats that outside guy, man, it's going to be lights out. And Peyton Manning is one of those guys who can help use him as a decoy or run him in the seam a little bit to make that happen. And that's one of the things I think that is going to make Denver dangerous. The other thing is that I think their running game is going to be a little bit better this year. Although it may be minus Willis McGahee, I do think that they're going to be better as a running team as well. And, I think Denver's going to be one of those teams that you got to watch, just basically what you see on paper. Another team, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers got really, really better. They went out and, they made some exchanges, and it's all going to really depend upon, how well Anquan Boldin can step in and fill the gap of, Michael Crabtree being lost probably for the most of the season due to a ruptured Achilles. And, Boldin is one of those special guys. I mean, I'm really, really shocked that the Ravens didn't fight for him. Now, he won't be dynamic all season, but in the big games, you can count on him. This dude is amazing. He's the toughest, probably one of the toughest football players to lace him up in the past 5 or 6 years. We've seen broken jaws. We've seen him get knocked out. And he always comes back, and he still plays with reckless abandon. And that's something that you want from a guy like that. Another team that jumps off the page for me right now is the Atlanta Falcons, and they were already good last year. But the addition of Steven Jackson scares me with that team now, because now they can do so many things, and they don't give it away with personnel. And you run Jackson, and then you go do the change of pace at the running back, and you just get exciting and more exciting. And they're going to be a team that's going to have people worried. You're going to be game planning. I mean, if you load up the box to stop Jackson, then you got to deal with Roddy White and Julio Jones on the outside. And if you want to double up them on the outside, but you still want to stop the running game, then you got Gonzalez, who decided not to retire, back, who can destroy you in the middle of the field. So, I mean, offensively, the Falcons have everything it needs. Defensively, they're good. I think they could be a little bit better. And if they sew it up a little bit up front and get some help in the middle at the at the defensive tackle position, I mean, watch out. I think the Falcons could probably win about 13 or 14 games this year and be the front runner coming into the playoffs for the NFC. Now, that's on paper. That's before games being played. An injury or anything could derail them. Also, Matt Ryan is probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks out there, although I don't really believe in his arm and the deep ball. Playing in that dome kind of annihilates that or takes that away. But people say the same thing about a lot of quarterbacks not having big arms, but they always find a way to make it happen. One of the things about Matty Ice is he doesn't spend a lot of time on his back. He gets rid of the ball, and that's really, really promising for them. As far as my division, the NFC East, it's going to be a whirlwind. You got guys who've been hurt, guys who are improving, and some coaches who are improving. I mean, if you look at it, it looks like on paper the Giants should be the best team because they got the most continuity. They got everybody back who's healthy. If Nix comes back healthy, and then the resigning at the receiver, securing and making solidifying those positions as well, makes them a contender. I don't know how defensively they're going to be able to match up. They've lost a lot in the secondary. The Cowboys is always an asterisk beside them. You don't know what team you're going to get. Some games, Tony Romo looks like he's legitimate, like he's bona fide, like he's going to be a superstar. And then the next game, you don't really know what you're going to get from the team. And offensive line issues, I think, can make a quarterback look worse than they are. So I kind of gave Romo a pass last year at the beginning of the year because the offensive line was so bad. And I noticed that at the end of the year when he started getting protected more, he got a lot better. And that's one of the things that the Cowboys are going to need if they're going to be successful or maintain any level of success. Philadelphia the same way. And Michael Vick, it doesn't matter who you put back there. They tried it last year. They thought, well, Vick's getting rid of the ball too slow. And then, they brought Foles in, and he almost got broken in half in 2 games starting at quarterback. So it's not like it's anything major you can do. If you can't protect anybody, you're not going to last long. So Philadelphia needed to solidify their offensive line, and their running game got a little bit better throughout the year. Even though they lost their horse, they got better, and that's one of the things about them is that Philly's going to be pretty good, and they bring in a new guy in, Chip Kelly, with a dynamic offense that everybody says is the NFL is ready for. So we'll see. And with the Washington Redskins, I think it's all going to depend on Robert Griffin III. I think if he's healthy, watch out because he brings a dynamic to the field that makes it really, really hard to check, like San Francisco. Being able to run the zone read and do certain things makes you play certain defenses on first or second down, and that gives the quarterback a lot of options, and it makes the defensive field very vanilla because he knows what kind of coverages he's going to get. And when you know what coverage you're getting right off the top, you almost already know where you're going to go with the football. And so it takes a lot of the thinking out of the game and allows you to be more reactive, and that's what you need to be to be successful in the NFL. The person I'm probably going to be the most excited to see is Cam Newton. I'm wondering if Cam Newton can put it back together the way he did his rookie year. I know he looked really well at the end of the year last year, but you have to wonder if Cam's going to have the ability to be one of the top-tier quarterbacks in the NFL. I know accuracy really was a struggle for him at times last year, but to his defense, I mean, he had about 15 different receivers working opposite of Steve Smith last year, and none of them really stepped up until the end of the year. So now that that's kind of been taken care of, it'll be exciting to see if Cam Newton can become an elite quarterback. I know the running game should never be a problem when you're paying 3 running backs as much money as they're paying their 3 running backs. So that should be taken off the table. So other than that, I can't see how Carolina won't be a better football team this year. And getting Beeson back healthy and maybe possibly moving him to outside linebacker to take some of the wear and tear off that body might be a good thing for him as well. So it'll be good to see how well things go. I know I'll probably find myself at a couple of Panthers games this year, a couple of Cowboys games this year, and possibly even a couple of Redskins games this year. When it comes to football, I don't discriminate. I just want to see some good football. I mean, I've got my teams that I root for, but I just want to see good football. With that being said, first broadcast in a while, trying to get back out there, get into the fold. So, if you have anything you want to hear about or anything you want to question about, just hit me up. You know the routine. BullCityStateOfMind@gmail.com. Take care, everybody. God bless.